rate your competences.
Who the hell do you think you are?
I see you, I don't
Can you
see you.
do what you're supposed to do?
Everything is okay. It's okay.
And if you are angry, then you are the crazy one.
Give and take.
I will exist.
For real. Okay, let's do it.
Welcome to For Real episode 13. This is the first recap episode recorded on the 6th of September 2024 in Perla Studios in Amsterdam. My name is Andrea Voets and I'm here with the creators of the show, which are Sarah Jeffery, Dumitriu, Burkhard Körner and Hayden Hook. Guys, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for bringing us.
Yeah, here we are at the half of our tour. We've made 12 episodes of For Real so far. So I thought it's really time to look back at the highlights of what we've all experienced in the theaters over the last 6 months. And to also give a look behind the scenes of how we have actually made this podcast. Because you've heard a lot of guests talk, but us, you don't know yet at all. So I would like to ask first to all of us to introduce yourself and to tell us what you are doing in For Real.
My name is Dumitriu. You already mentioned that. You said George, right?
I say it wrong, eh?
George. There's George, there's George, but it's nice. This is a combination of my father's name and my name.
Is it acceptable?
So it's like you tell the whole family history. Okay, I'm a musician and I play guitar and viola.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to play both instruments in this show, and I like to improvise. I have a classical background and some jazz studies. Is that enough?
It's a lot already. Yeah.
Okay.
And you, Hayden?
Yeah, my name is Hayden Hook. I'm the sound engineer for the show. I amplify the sound of everybody's instruments and electronics for the audience to hear. And I also record everything so that you can listen back to what happened after the show. And that's actually the podcast that you all listen to. So, yeah, that's my role.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jeffery. I'm one of the performers in the show. I play recorders from big to small, and I also sing.
That's right, you do.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Burkhard, and yeah, I was the outside eye of the show. So together with Andrea, we started talking about this project very early and kind of, walking together this path a lot. And so it's funny because this role is a bit like in between dramaturgy and maybe artistic counseling. So in the end, like a couple of days before the premiere, I came up with this term artistic midwife, and that's the term I love the most for this project. And I have a background in choreography and performing and also music. So loads of backgrounds feeding into that project also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I'm Andrea and I play harp in the show, and I am the artistic director of Resonate Productions. So practically it means I take care of the ideas and the money and the people. So I thought of the concept of For Real, and I did the journalism research and the making. Like the final responsibility lies with me for doing this thing. Yeah, great. We're so far 115 people have stepped to the microphone during recordings of For Real. I was amazed that it were actually that many.
Is that including the pre-concerts that we had? The tryouts at Splendor?
Only one tryout, but
Okay,
not all
okay.
the rehearsing we did. No,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow,
So
that's
it's
impressive.
Yeah, because I remember when we started, I thought, who on earth will do this?
And people are tumbling over each other to come to the microphone sometimes, stepping out of the audience and taking it and wanting to say things.
Funny,
It's
yeah?
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
People mirror each other also a lot. Once you get going, they start doing all the same things. You know, that's really nice.
Yeah, that's really impressive how that works. Like at such a fine level, but it really opens certain doors. And
Do you
those-
remember the moment, George, that you saw that?
For example, I remember mentioning, every time I would read the questions and then ask if I had to go to the table and interview. I would have to read again the questions, and I would sometimes say, which question did you like, or to say which number. And then the next person would also say the third question, the second question. So it would just happen automatically that it went that way, like the shortcut way.
Whatever you put more stress on, that's what they would go
They
for.
kind of like just some fine details stay in the process.
Amazing, eh? Great. What we've done so far is we all looked at everything we recorded so far, and we all picked one favorite. And per person, we're going to listen to it. And in
nice.
that way, talk a little bit about what we've all lived so far. The first example is picked by Nobody But Me, because I thought it's good to also spend a moment on what kickstarted this project, which is a search into the intellectual undermining of women, which I will just once for the tape explain good. It is the sexism, not on the body, but on the intelligence and the mind and the soul of a person, in this case, a woman. And I read there's a brilliant, brilliant book. It's called The Authority Gap, Why Women Are Still Not Taken Seriously. And it's written by Mary Ann Sieghart in 2022 in the UK. And it gathers all of the sociological data that there are about this phenomenon. For example, not being taken seriously, being talked over, your emails not being opened, not being given enough time or resources to do your job with, being a little bit humiliated, being laughed down at, etc., etc., etc. She got it all in numbers, which is very helpful because then you cannot say anymore, oh, it's between the ears, like you're imagining. And I read that book and I was extremely touched. And then we decided to start making this theatrical radio show about it. And I picked the first example from my very first tryout from Nora, who is speaking, to give one just funny example, funny, tragic, they often go together in this project, of that happening. Can you play it, Hayden? Number 0.
Hi.
Hello. Would you like to share your name and?
Yeah, I'm Nora from Hungary and Holland and born in 87. I actually have 2 questions that are the same thing that was in my mind, which is what parts of yourself do you feel you have to hide? And do you resonate with something that was said? So what I resonated with was you have to hide your competences, which is also the part of myself that I have to hide. What I found interesting is that I've recently found out that when women on the dating market, they are advised to, when they have higher positions, so for example me, I'm a musician on stage, but also, for example, a friend of mine who is a very high, she's like a surgeon, medical expert, are advised to, instead of just saying what you do, say, I work in healthcare.
Like a general...
Yes, because men are intimidated by women with higher functions, and apparently then they don't want to date you anymore. So what's going on there? So apparently I am intimidating because I'm on stage, and that is a high societal function, and apparently we're living in a world where men need to feel like they are a little bit above the woman that they might date or that they might be interested in. I find that really disturbing. So apparently I have to hide that, but that means I have to hide simply who I am and maybe also the power that I have, whereas I don't find my own power intimidating. I found it very welcoming, and but yeah, I guess that doesn't go for everyone. So yeah,
I would say don't follow the advice of the market.
Yeah, then nobody wants to date me anymore. So I've been like desiring to fall for women because like I'm fed up with this. Exact, the future is gay. I agree. Sadly, I haven't managed, but I would love to be rid of this problem. Yeah. But I find it unbelievable that if you are a medical expert, you have to say, I work in healthcare. That is unbelievable to me. But it is what apparently works. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you for sharing this.
All right, thank you.
Did you remember this one, Sarah? That she did this?
Now I'm hearing it again. I just think fucking babies. But there's something coming up in me listening back as well. One thing is I don't have this experience of the current dating market because I've been in a long-term relationship for a long time. But I've definitely had this experience of not intimidating people. And I have to say, it's not only men, it's from women as well. Actually, throughout my whole life, I've experienced, oh shit, if you show something about yourself, you get a good mark on a test, you have an achievement in your life, professional life, people don't like that. And I've had that very much from my female friends as well as men around. So I think it's also part of a larger, it's not only being a woman intimidating a man, but maybe, I'm just thinking aloud here, as a woman, it's less acceptable to have these kind of competencies. Maybe from a man, it's not intimidating, it's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, can any of the guys here at the table speak to that? Because this is just me thinking aloud.
Yeah, sure. I mean, from my perspective, it's I've always had kind of a skewed perspective because I had stay-at-home dad, working professional mother. So my dad's a sound engineer, so he would be working at night doing concerts, music, this kind of thing. And my mom was working for the community, social work and things like that. So I always had this view of like, okay, mom is like the professional working, like the, you know, the more typical kind of working person in the family.
Breadwinner.
Yeah, breadwinner, exactly, this kind of thing. And, you know, dad is at home cooking, you know, like he would pick me up after school and things like that. So I never really had that feeling towards women where, you know, if I'm speaking to a woman and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm a pilot or, you know, a doctor or whatever, it never intimidated me because I was like, oh, yeah, of course, because that's the kind of position that women have. No, it's not actually really like that, you know. And I think it's becoming there. Do you not think that there's also a bit of a flip that happens with some people, like with women in very high positions take on more masculine traits, like of the patriarchy, like they start becoming more just because of the environment that they're in? Is that something that you can touch upon?
I guess that was the premise of this book, Lean In, wasn't it? That was like, girls, if you want to get ahead, just do this. But then, yeah, as you say, it just leans into the stereotypes of the patriarchy rather than like smashing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I find this, I don't know, I know, especially in the cultural field, you see many female leading figures or like CEOs is not the wrong word, but like kind of cultural artistic directors and and they're quite, I'm always surprised then that the way how often institutions are run or like how communication is done is often like just copy pasted in a way from like, so in a very patriarchal way. And I find it such a pity that we cannot come up with different ideas and different ways of relating to each other or running teams or running structures, but that we just continue like the old way. And I find it such a pity. And then it's like, but then it's not about gender. It's about how we do things. Is that problematic what I'm saying?
Yeah, isn't that Angela Saini who says it?
Of
in the
course.
pre-recorded,
Yeah, of course, my favorite.
We've become so, it's really hard to change society, she says, because we've become so invested in the societies we're already in. We're like, we have to change all of this. And then we say, okay, let's leave it. It's fine. Yeah.
We can work with this.
They call it the sunken cost also. If you've already invested so much into something that doesn't work,
like
you can't abandon it.
like the bandit, like the gambling machine.
Exactly
the
like that.
You've already put so much in, you keep going.
Yeah.
But I think that's the work, and that takes much more time and effort to kind of leave the templates that we know and kind of start researching new templates of relating or running structures or building communities, building teams, running organizations. And that's a lot of work, I think, that for everyone and everywhere kind of.
Before we go to the new favorite fragment, because you say that it's like a new way of relating, one thing that we're doing here in this show is we are, as musicians, interviewing the guests, and the other two musicians are improvising upon what the guests are saying in the interview. George, Sarah, how was this for you to develop this? Because it came from my mind. I thought this is a great new way of relating to each other, but then we actually had to do it. How was it for you? What do you remember?
Can I start?
From?
I remember the experiments we did in the beginning in Splendor. We were testing how does it work to accompany, so to say, the interviews that were recorded, pre-recorded. And at the beginning it was difficult because there's one more, or let's put it like this, there's a different way to relate to sound, or to relate to, that the attention will go to communication instead of sound perception, or like, the language that we use while we improvise musically. And that was very interesting that once we got to the real interviews, actually the emotional part was much stronger, and we could actually connect through the emotional understanding, or the emotional communication, let's say.
What do you mean with the real interviews?
I mean, when we had actually people interviewing each other in the rehearsals, I felt that much stronger, and it was much easier for us to connect to each other musically, and also to connect to what was happening there. And the music was kind of guided by the real interviews.
I forgot that. So as long as we were trying it with the three of us, it was like playing ball. But the moment it got real, it was there.
Yeah, I mean, it was working with interviews, with the pre-recorded interviews as well. It was because they were very strong and really, they had a lot of emotional content. But I remember the switch once we went to the real thing that felt very different. Yeah, much at a very different level happening. The connection,
with
and
real people showing up.
Yeah, and of course, like in a performance situation where we have audience and everything, it just flows. It's just happening by itself. Yeah, it's so much easier. How was it for you, Sarah?
I completely agree. As soon as we had the real audience there, I found that I could play with tears streaming down my face and not make any sounds vocally, but keep playing. One thing I found interesting was how I selected musical material. I found it to be a really fine line between supporting what the interviewee was saying and lending the correct atmosphere, but without being cheesy or sentimental or prescriptive or slapstick even. So that was a challenge that I wasn't anticipating, but it made it very interesting. I enjoyed it.
But I felt like these were the challenges we had in the beginning, when we were trying to figure out how is this done. but I felt like all these questions fell into place once we started to connect emotionally, because that was, you
Yes.
know, that was all the information we needed to make the music happen around the interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I remember in the first time that I really felt, oh wow, this activity is really involving like the whole brain to have to do this. Because of what you say, it's sound and music which is already lighting up your brain like a Christmas tree. But then you also cognitively have to relate to what is actually being said here. I also felt you couldn't do it for much longer than 8 minutes at a time or something like that. It's really enough. It's hard to stay there longer.
Yeah, it requires a
actually.
lot of attention.
A lot, yeah, really a lot. Guys, thank you for
Thank you,
making
Andrea.
that. Yeah, and the act of interviewing. How was that, Sarah and George?
Yeah, that was a big challenge. Still is, I think, for me. Because I think the thing that I was most afraid of, which would happen sometimes, is that I go in my own mind loop. You know what I should be answering, what should I be asking, or you know how to not lose the time frame, how to to make it work in a podcast contest. And I think usually I'm a good listener, but in this context I had to question this: am I really listening like all the time, and to really do my best to be there? But in the same time, I discovered that trying to do my best was not the way, that I had to just relax into the conversation and absorb the information and try to understand as much, to really see it from there. Yeah, it was a challenge, still is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot to learn also, like about what's happening around.
Yeah, something we found very important was to enable the interviewees to feel heard and supported, but not exploited.
Yeah.
So, especially after they've told their story, you can always see this weight coming off the shoulders. But then how to continue the interview in a way that's not, okay, let me mine your trauma. So tell me more.
In 2 minutes, please.
In 2 minutes. Yeah, so it's, as somebody, by nature, I don't find conversations easy. So this kind of performed interview on real people for an audience is a challenge.
And how was it for you, Andrea? Because you've done all the recorded interviews. How was it to do them live?
Oh, so I've hidden something from all of you, which is that to do a well-rounded, short, mini interview with somebody who you see only once is one of the hardest things.
Thank you.
I believe that you can do in journalism. Yeah.
Come make a live podcast, they said.
Yeah.
It'll be fun, they said.
You have to play and be there and take good care of everyone and mind the clock and continue, and then also play in tune, please. In part of all of that together. So I think an important part, and I don't remember Burkhard how we got there, or for me it was really important that the people who step forward, that they are in control to a large extent, and that nothing is fake. So because I hate interactive art, and my biggest nightmare would be that people feel that they have to make our show. That they
Quite a
have
statement there. You hate interactive
I
art.
really
like,
hate it.
like because the audience has to make it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because I always feel used as an audience. So I wanted to make a setup where nobody feels used. And it's only like for some people, maybe this day that they come to for real and something they heard makes them feel, okay, now I really want to say this only now.
It would be unbearable to have that feeling of, please don't pick me, oh no, with that in your stomach the whole show. That would just kill the vibe.
Yeah.
You know, when we were gonna pick our segments, our favorite parts, I was tempted to pick one where nobody came up.
For George.
The first time, yeah, because that was shocking for me as well. Because, well, like you said, you would hate for anybody to feel like they have to come up, right? But when it actually happened for the first time, where nobody came up, and it happened 2 times in the same show, right?
Yeah, was it the second time?
Or was it in the second? I think it was 2 times in the same show. They didn't come up for you.
No, I think I wrote down George tries again.
Yeah,
in the
George
second
tries
show.
again.
And then
Did-
it was
did that mean-
fine.
And then it was
Somebody
fine, yeah.
came. Okay.
But it was like, it was shocking. I was like, oh yeah, I mean, the show would still work if nobody came to talk. Okay, it would be way less nice, but it would still work. It
Yeah.
would still be an enjoyable.
And we mean
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Like, it's really serious. If nobody wants to speak, we're fine here. Like,
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah,
being here. This is still important.
Yeah.
I think you
Burkhard.
mentioned an important starting point of the work and the form it took actually, which is saying you hate interactive art, and I think that was such an important information to actually forget that we are doing any kind of theater or performance, and to strip it down, and also to strip down how we, or like in this case, like the three of you, like George, Sarah, and Andrea, how you are on stage, how you go on stage, how you go to this table, how you interact with people. And it was, I think that was the work that we were also doing to let go of the theatrical space we might by accident be in because we are booked in a theater, but kind of to come to this genuine place of like, I'm here with you, and of course there's people around, but how can we create this intimate space together and make space for the questions or the experience you want to share? So in a way we kind of stripped the artistic, like, or what we think, like how things should happen, and we stripped also methodology. I think it was very important to have no methodology in a way, and to kind of like be with what comes, and then kind of take it from there.
In those moments in the show
In those
where
moments,
people
yeah.
get to talk. I just love spending time in for real. I think it's like my favorite way of interacting with people. Just to be there. It's not a performance at all. Like, this makes a lot of sense to me to do this. And I think I always really trusted the music. I thought that the fact that we have these super sensitive musicians that are sitting there to carry you, that will just make everything possible. And that's really what happened, I believe. Yeah. Although I don't think that people who sit in the middle to talk notice the music that much. But it would not happen if it wasn't there.
But I heard from some people, I heard that it helps them to speak.
Yeah.
They mentioned that, yeah. But it creates some kind of soundtrack that helps, telling your story or.
Let's listen to a few. Burkhard, you brought Tasha.
Yes.
Do you want to say something before we listen?
Yeah. I mean, let me see. Can I say something about it? Yeah, it's an interesting excerpt. And funny enough, when I re-listened to the fragment, I was like, oh, actually, there was another one that was similar strong. So, maybe we'll listen to it first and then we can explore a little bit more.
Great.
Hi. Hello.
Hi,
Hi. My name is Tasha.
I'm Naja. Hi.
Hi.
Do you also want to share birth and...
Yeah, I would love to share something about, say something to my mom. Oh, it's super. Go ahead.
Yes. What would you like to tell her? Or about her?
She's a bit nervous. My mom. Sorry. She was a programmer, actually. She was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Then she changed to accountant because she had to take care of children.
Yeah. You?
yeah, me and my sister, and back then it was like kind of very common that men didn't do anything, to be honest, like around the house, around children, not cooking. So she changed, and she always said like she could be actually quite a good programmer, but accounting was a bit easier because for programming you have to study all the time, and if you like care of children, you don't have time.
Your time is taken.
And in the end, like she ended up like helping my father. Like she was accountant, so she was kind of a little bit on the back.
Helping your father.
Yeah, in his business. But I was judging her because she was often quite tired and angry. And I didn't understand why. I thought like my father is kind of more happy and more kind, and she was kind of angry
and unavailable.
Yeah, and now I look back and I understand like what's happened in a way. Like I'm around 35 now, so I can understand what she went through. And for some reason, I don't know why, it's impacted actually a lot. I think, well, my mother was like born in Belarus, let's say Soviet Union. Like if you would know what kind of conditions were, like, you know, 86 was Chernobyl, like 89 around like time of around Soviet fall, like medicine was horrible. If you think like even birth was like really women don't try
dangerous.
Not to talk about it. Yeah. And so she was doing all this job, etc. So now I can understand what she went through. Maybe it was, you know, difficult to accept, but I kind of say, like, I understand her now a little bit more. And one thing which is I feel pity for, that like a lot of women, you know, back then they still felt more important to have family than career, let's say. So if you're successful in career but you're unlucky with family, you're not really cool.
Yeah. Less, maybe.
Less, yeah. And then I feel like I had the same kind of burden for myself instead of like developing myself in career. I felt kind of more appreciated or more like endorsed for having like relationship or family than for developing in career.
Yes, for yourself as well.
Yeah. But I think that something has changed, kind of, or like we can change it for ourselves. Give a bit of credit to our mothers.
Do you
I think that's difficult to say, to be honest, to my mom, that like I'm kind of, no matter of things, grateful.
She kind of paved the way for you, maybe.
Yeah,
or did
I mean, I think I just appreciate the difficulties the women had to go through doing all the job. Maybe, yeah, it's hard to appreciate when you're a child, but maybe now we can do better.
She had to run the business of the home.
Yeah,
and she had to help your father
run
and I was
his
only
business. Complaining that she cooked horribly, but I also do. I'm also not good at it. Yeah.
Do you mind? Do you mind now, when you look back, that your mother was not always available? Or could you tell her, I understand, it's okay?
Yeah, I still think it was a bit fucked up, but
Can
now
be both.
I would say I feel you went through a lot. I think you're the best you could do at that time, and I kind of appreciate a lot. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Burkhard, why did you pick this one from the 115?
I mean, I definitely wanted to choose a fragment where I was present also in the show. So this is from one of the first shows in the Bali, episode 1, if you want to re-listen to that episode. And I think it resonated with me because, so Tasha is born in Belarus, so communist, post-Soviet reality. I mean, I think Tasha is born before, like 86, 87, in this period. I was born in 1983 in the former GDR in East Germany. So there is a common understanding of this, socialist, post-socialist reality. And what I think is quite interesting here, and this comes also back in another fragment I'm going to share in a second, that so on paper in socialist reality, men and women were equal, and like, I don't know, 70% of women were working. So there was like on paper, there was equality. There was, of course, right for abortion. I mean, very progressive legislation that we are at the moment losing more and more because of such a conservative backlash, for example, in Poland. But so on paper, we had this huge advancements, but in reality, in the families, men didn't feel they needed to do the housework or do anything to support the family. I mean, in general, maybe, but this is just one example. And no one was questioning that, for example, for Tasha's mother, family was a much bigger value than becoming a programmer or like making a career in that. And so I think it touches me to an extent that let's say feminism, or not feminism, I don't know, but like this advancements on a legal level came from the lawmaker, like was kind of coming from the legal side, or was kind of on paper, it was there, but it was not really worked in society that, like a society would make a progress. So it was kind of like put up on. And this leads to this other excerpt where in episode 6, Anna shares about how her father was a prestigious military in Soviet times, and then her mother, when Soviet system failed and there was no money anymore and father didn't get the income anymore, the mom had to go to the market to sell things just to keep the family running. And she says in this excerpt in episode 6, I put my father first. I felt always like at school more proud about him, and he was more prestigious. And I was ashamed about my mom working on the market. And this is also so, I don't know, it really touches me to see how we as kids take on these values also of patriarchal societies, no matter which system we live in, and how we put, like the person who's like having the prestigious position, but actually not making any money, that we are more proud of this parent than the one who's like actually doing everything to run this family and to help us grow up and all that. And I'm just like, also this sadness that you have to abandon everything, for the sake of the family and to make this nuclear family running. And how little wiggle room is. Of course, everyone talks about how can we, combine, like educating children and also having amazing careers. But somehow I feel like in this nuclear families, there's so little wiggle room. Like, I mean, I'm not a parent myself, but like, it's just like, there's so little time to make these realities happen in a similar period, because it's we're always in the small nuclear families, and we don't live in a society where the support network is much bigger, let's say, right? So I don't know. And then again, Angela Saini, one of the speakers in the show that you recorded and you interviewed, she gives me hope because she just says, let me see, because I think I wrote it down. Anyway, she says everything that we are seeing in society, we just made it up and we can totally recreate it. And then her last sentence, and also the last sentence of the show, is you have to be willing to question everything if you want to create equal society. So it doesn't come just with law and progressive legislation. It has to start from each of us to question the templates that we are engaging with. So
And it's a very creative act to do that each time again.
Absolutely, and it asks a lot, but I feel that's I don't know. I feel like it's creative, but it's also we are called to, if we want to get out of what doesn't work, I think we need to start rethinking how we are doing things.
Yeah, I think it's a process that is uncomfortable. That's the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
And we're just so used to the way things are, and then it takes a lot more energy to question everything and to frame it in a different way, to look at it differently.
I also want to maybe give some perspective with it. At the end of the day, the idea would be that there are systems and structures in place, legislatively, legally, and in the minds of people, the acceptance that all of this can be a choice, right? Because in making this show, I've also had conversations with friends of mine, mothers who have said, well, yeah, but I love being at home with my kids. Yeah. And that's fine too. We're not saying like, women, get out the house and don't be with your children, because that can also be a wonderfully enriching thing. But that should also be open for non-mothers, for father figures. And at the end of the day, it would be fantastic if this is equally possible according to what people want to do. I'm a mother. I love being at home with my daughter. I also equally love and need to work financially and also for self-fulfillment. And I think that should go for everybody.
George and Burkhard, and Sarah, for you not, but for you also, like your mom came forward during For Real, and also your wife Anna also came forward. How was that for you to see that?
Yeah, that was pretty strong. I don't. Is this episode online?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I couldn't find it. I was looking for it.
It's episode 6, I think.
Number 6 in Splendor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very strong for me, and was also bringing me a lot of questions, because then I could face directly the situation. Like, we have a family. Am I giving enough space to her? Also the way she's been raised in her family, that it was a bit similar to what we heard before in Tasha's case, where her mother didn't have so much space to choose, but she was very dedicated to the family. Yeah, it was a very strong point of view. Although I knew her story and everything, it was a very emotional moment for me as well, and made me think about everything, to rethink how am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right position? To put some effort.
This was the first of 3 recap episodes of For Real. We are Resonate Productions, and you can find us on Instagram at resonate.productions or on facebook.com/musicaljournalism. See you next time.